Assalamu alaikum all. So today I'm going to be talking about avoiding credit cards as a Muslim. I talk about why I believe they are halal, but I really encourage myself not to use them at all, and the issues with credit cards and how they can kind of really build up debt. Now, for those that are new here, this is Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Just a quick disclaimer, everything I say here is not financial advice. It is purely for information and entertainment purposes. Now, first of all, I probably get into the fact of why I believe credit cards can be halal. And this is because of some information I've read online. So Islamic Finance Guru is really good. And there are different opinions that are out there. And I think, there is a good opinion saying that they are halal. However, we do need to kind of avoid paying any sort of interest or getting into bad debt. So one way of doing that is by paying it off completely. Now, before I go further, it'd probably be worth me just kind of going into how credit cards work. So what are the credit card basics and how do they work? Well, quite simply, I'm sure a lot of people kind of know this already, but you get this plastic card, and instead of using cash, what you do is you use this card to buy stuff, and you spend on that card. And at the end of the month, you get a statement. So what happens is you end up getting into debt with the credit card company, and you have this statement. And then what you can do is you can either pay a minimum amount every month. It could be £5, £10, whatever it is. You could pay the full amount off, and it's always advised to try and pay the full amount off, because when you pay that minimum amount, the credit card debt just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger because it's interest. That interest ends up making the card debt larger and larger and larger, which is what credit card companies sort of would ideally prefer people to do, so that way they make more money. And also with credit cards, it's very easy to get into large amounts of debt because you could just go shopping and just spend stuff on your card with money that you don't have, because you're just getting into debt with the credit card companies. You could go shopping, you could buy some, a phone, camera, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever you want. And then you get a statement at the end of the month. And so you could end up spending money that you don't actually have. So you end up being in debt. And then you get into this habit of maybe just paying the minimum amount. Now, research shows that people are more likely to spend more money when they have a credit card rather than cash. So there's like this whole kind of psychological thing here, because you have a credit card, you're not really feeling how much you're spending. And essentially what happens is you're just paying, you know, you're paying on this credit card company and just kind of getting into debt, which is not good. And so the Dave Ramsey show, which is something I've been kind of watching a lot recently, I've learned a lot about how credit cards work. And definitely one of the things they talk about is like literally cutting up your credit cards, not using them, not getting into debt, which is something that I definitely agree with and something that I follow. And what's really interesting about the Dave Ramsey show is that I'll be sure to have kind of link in the description, is that he has loads of people kind of calling in and talking about their money issues and stuff like that. And you get a lot of people talking about credit card debt, like, crazy amounts, like 10, 20, 30K debt. They're just kind of just racked up buying stuff, and a lot of time we end up buying stuff just to kind of look good and give off the impression that we are doing really well. But before you know it, we're in these like really bad debt. Another thing about credit cards, and this is something that after watching Dave Ramsey show that I've really kind of understood, is that they're very confusing. You're not sure how much you're spending and when money is going to be kind of going out your account. Now, what happens is, you buy things on a credit card and then you don't get billed for that like a month later. So I used to use a credit card a lot before, and I would get billed a month later, then the money would actually come out a month after that. So it's like 2 months kind of lead time before the money goes out of your account. It's so confusing. I had no idea what was happening, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just me, I don't understand what's going on. But then I was watching Dave Ramsey show, and you realize actually that's what credit card companies want to do. They want to make things confusing so you don't know what's going on. And also, while all of this is going on, I'm still spending more money in the credit card company. And yeah, it was just got really confusing. I went on holiday to Turkey. When I came back, I'd spent money on the credit card because the credit card had a really good exchange rate in terms of buying things in Lira, and it was just confusing. I had this. It took me ages to realize I had about a £1,000 debt that I got into while I was out in Turkey, and I had no idea what was going on. Just got kind of so confused with what's going on. But alhamdulillah, I've managed to kind of pay that off now. But yeah, it's kind of really put me off credit cards, and I don't kind of use them now. And as I've already said, credit cards intentionally kind of make it confusing, so you don't know what's going on, how much you're spending, and it gets quite confusing to understand what's going on. So you just end up spending and spending, and then before you know it, you kind of build that debt up really quickly. Now, another thing just to make really, really clear is that credit cards are totally different from a debit card. So even though they both look the same, with a debit card, money is taken from your account like straight away. So that's why, debit cards is what I use. So, ideally we would use like cash, but I just don't like you know, just carrying cash around, and something Dave Ramsey kind of recommends as well, but it's just like inconvenient, and having coins and things like that. It's just like, I don't like that. So, it's definitely what I use, and it means I'm not getting into debt. Now, also another thing Dave Ramsey was talking about is that credit card companies themselves spend a lot of money on marketing, advertising, sponsorships. You see them everywhere. You see signs and stuff for that everywhere. So, they spend a lot of money because they also make a lot of money, and they want people to sign up. And what they do is, and this is definitely something I noticed when I was younger in university and things like that, they kind of entice you with free money and other gifts. I think I got like a t-shirt, football, random bits and pieces like that. They want you to sign up and have all these incentives and stuff in place, especially if you're a student. You sign up at a young age, you're with that credit company for a long, long time. Like, I remember I've signed up for a credit card company, and I just kind of just used them just because they were at my university, and I just happened to sign up to them. And another thing that maybe a lot of you have heard about is how credit card companies do things like airline points. So, airline miles, you may call them as well. So you spend money and then you kind of get points on that you can then use to get free flights and stuff like that. And I used to think that's really cool when I've collected points and stuff like that before. But they're very confusing. You don't know how much you need, when you need it. It's just like, and most people don't know how to use them properly, like including me. And then I realized, like, you need to spend a lot of money just to get like enough points to, I don't know, just to take like a simple little flight. And then I realized, what, it's just not worth the hassle of me doing that. I know some people really like it, but I don't like it. I don't want to get into debt. Don't want to kind of get confused with everything. And another thing that Dave Ramsey spoke about was on his show was that, these incentives that we get from credit card companies are funded by people who are paying interest on the credit cards, or people that have got massive debts on the credit cards. So, that's a really kind of interesting point. It made me realize, do I want these incentives and things like that if they're being funded by people that, are probably struggling or got massive debts on the credit card and things like that. So, just another thing to kind of think about. But before, what I did was I did use my credit card a lot for traveling because, I got really low foreign exchange rates, and the credit card was really good for that. And it was just nice to have that, so I don't pay all these additional fees. So like I said, when I went to Turkey, but nowadays debit cards are doing that as well, when they're offering you for free. And Monzo, I think Starling as well, which are like some banks in the UK that are kind of doing it. They're more these kind of, we call them challenger banks, startup banks. So those are really good. And so what I would do now is I wouldn't use the credit card, I would use the debit card instead from one of these sort of companies. Another thing is, when you're traveling, sometimes hotels, they want you to like give them details of a card. So for any extra expenses, I don't know if you take something from the mini bar, so obviously not something halal, something alcoholic, like like a soft drink or something, then it just gets charged automatically on your card. Some of them only accept sort of credit cards and stuff. So in that case, I would probably use them. Another thing that is an advantage about credit cards is that you get this credit card protection. So if you buy large purchases, I think it's about £100 in the UK, then if something happened, like you ordered that product and there's a problem with that product and the company's not kind of dealing properly with you, or if the company's gone bankrupt, so you've ordered stuff out. Now, we ordered some clothes before, and then that clothes meant to get sent to us, and then the company went bankrupt. This happened like a few years ago. Then the credit card company will kind of reimburse you. That's like sort of protection you have. But I believe that you also get this protection with debit cards as well. I think the Visa debit card offers you this protection, but I'm 100% not sure about that. But definitely something to think about. So I still kind of avoid using my credit company, and only kind of use it if I've got a really large purchase and I think I'm not too sure about company. Then in that case, maybe I would use a credit card company. But another thing is, I would never pay the minimum. I would always pay the full amount off every month, or all the debt would just keep growing. It's another good term I heard from someone is like the infinity pool. Because you're paying the minimum and there's interest charge every month, your credit card debt is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And just by paying the minimum, you are just digging a massive hole for yourself. So that is definitely not something we want to do and need to be very careful of. So yeah, just want to say thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps with the algorithm. Assalamu alaikum.